Thanks for joining us for another edition of the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast. Look at this, February. That means high school softball is off and running next month. Here's what we've got on the slate for today. So excited to have Jamie Barta of the NDSU Bison. She went to St. Mary's out in Bismarck, played for Bismarck High, now a freshman for the Bison. We'll have her on the program in just a couple of minutes. We're also going to talk to the head coach of Mayport CG area, Harry Lipsey, talk a little bit about his program. Looking forward to that as well. I also want to touch on the package deal. If you haven't heard of these girls, if you haven't heard of this group, you need to. And last but not least, we're going to look ahead to, the upcoming softball season and what that means for the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast. But let's not waste any more time. So excited we got this interview. Joining us from the North Dakota State University Bison, it's number one, Jamie Barta. Thanks for joining us, Jamie.
Hi, it's great to be on.
Yeah, glad that we could have you. I know it's a busy time of year already for the Bison, but glad we could steal a few minutes of your time.
Yeah, no, it's been crazy the first couple weeks. We're gone more than we're in Fargo, but
yeah, for sure. We'll dive into that in just a little bit. But first, let's rewind to the end of the season last year for Bismarck. Your team made just an incredible run through the region tournament and all the way into the last day, the finals of the state tournament, best finish in school history. Just talk about how the team kind of came together at the end and made that awesome run, and you had a chance to win a title on the last day of the year.
Yeah, no, that was really fun. I think we stayed together for a long time, a group of seniors, and at that point we started that fun, like we were just playing the game and we were playing loose and we just wanted to go win. And yeah, I think that's what really brought us together at the end. It was just kind of a carefree attitude.
Yeah, and you're kind of a shortstop by trade, but you pitched a lot down the stretch. And just talk about that, in high school softball, and certainly at every level of softball, but the pitching is so important, and what you came in and did at the end of the year was pretty impressive.
It was fun. I hadn't thrown a lot all high school that my senior year with some injuries, but yeah, it was fun to come in at the end pitch again. I did a lot of that in high school, so it was fun to finish it out that way. But
yeah, and then you have had the unique experience of going through kind of a Division I recruiting process. We've had some North Dakota girls come through North Dakota high school ball and then go on to play Division I, but still not a ton, and you were recruited by the home state team. So talk a little bit about how that recruiting process played out for you.
Yeah, well, the biggest thing that I did was I went down to Minneapolis every weekend and played with the team down there just to get some more games in and tournaments and whatever. But yeah, NDSU, they saw me when we were playing in a tournament in Colorado, and they had remembered me from going to camp since I was just a middle schooler. So no, it was really cool to get the call from Coach Mueller. Just it means a lot when that's your home. And I know it means a lot to me to know that I'm representing a lot of girls that are working really hard to grow the sport in the state.
And at the end of your high school year, so before you officially joined the Bison, had a cool opportunity to play in the first ever North Dakota Softball All-Star Series. By then, you were already committed to the Bison, but still a unique experience to finish out your high school career. First time doing it, so we didn't have a lot to go off of in terms of expectations, but how did that fit for you? What was the couple days like?
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I was happy I got to be a part of that before I graduated. It was really neat to meet all the girls, find out that they're actually pretty nice. And it was neat playing for the other coaches, too. It was a really cool experience.
And so now we fast forward to today, and like we said, you're a member of the NDSU softball team, and we can hardly think about softball in these parts of the high school level at this time of year, but you're already well into your season, a couple tournaments underway. You had one weathered out, but if you could pinpoint just a thing or two so far, what's the biggest difference between high school and travel softball to softball at the Division I level?
Well, we work really hard. That's probably the biggest difference. Not that we don't work hard, but in high school, it's just there's a different level of intensity, and the speed of the game is a lot faster. you come in as a freshman, you're smaller than everyone, and less experienced, and everything just moving really quick in your head, but starting to slow down a little bit, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, one thing NDSU prides itself on in all sports, you hear about it a lot in football, but they pride themselves on it in all sports, is just the strength and conditioning aspect. Undoubtedly far different than in high school, but how different is that to have, you already have the school element, you have the softball element, and then you kind of have this strength and conditioning element and nutrition element too?
Yeah, no, our strength coaches are awesome. We, right now we're only in there about 1 day a week, but in the off season we were lifting 3 times a week and then conditioning 2 days. I actually gained like 11 pounds of like muscle from the strength program, and then once we're done lifting in the weight room, shakes made for us and healthy snacks and everything, so we're spoiled. Great.
We're talking to Jamie Barta from St. Mary's out in Bismarck, played at Bismarck High, now a freshman for the NDSU Bison. If you had a chance, Jamie, to talk to somebody who's maybe a sophomore, maybe a freshman, maybe a junior in high school, and would just love the opportunity to play Division I softball, what kind of advice would you give them?
You got to work hard, but never stop having fun. Once the game stops being fun, then it's not worth it anymore. You got to work hard, but yeah, just keep having fun.
Can't let you leave without asking you a bunch of your favorites. So we're going to go through 10 or 12 of your favorites as quick as we can. All right, we're going to start with your favorite cereal.
Probably oatmeal.
Fair enough. Favorite TV show right now?
Ooh, I watch a lot of MLB Network. Baseball shows.
Perfect. How about your favorite musician or band?
Oh, country, probably Thomas Rhett.
Common one. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite color?
Pink.
Favorite number?
1.
Could have guessed that one. Jersey number. Very good. How about your favorite professional athlete?
Oh, right now? Probably right now Altuve and Judge, but all-time Lou Gehrig.
You picked the two.
Sorry, that was quite a few.
The two complete opposites. That's fantastic. Yep. What's your favorite thing about Bismarck?
I loved my school. I loved St. Mary's. That was probably my favorite thing about Bismarck.
Very good. What's your favorite thing about softball? And I know that's not a fair question, but answer it anyway.
I love the speed of the game. I love making a diving play and just how quick everything happens.
All right, what's your favorite thing about Coach Mueller?
He always wants to have fun and make sure that we're still competing, but that it's always fun.
That's what your advice was to kids who want to potentially play Division I softball, so that all fits together real nice. All right, so one last thing before you go. I was checking out your bio on GoBison.com, and then some of the talks we had through Twitter to set this interview up. On GoBison.com, you list your favorite book is the Bible. You're an active member of FCA. We were scheduling around some Bible studies. But NDSU is, we got to see it with football. There's some pretty cool features, I think, on Valley News Live and throughout the state of North Dakota. But the FCA program at NDSU is really incredible. So I wanted to give you a minute or two to talk about that program and that group that you're a part of at NDSU.
Yeah, no, right away when I got onto campus, some of my teammates had invited me to FCA, and we meet on Wednesday nights in the indoor track, and there can be up to 50 people in there, just athletes. It's really cool because you'll see Easton Stick and all these big football players, and you get to be there with them, and they know that we're all the same. We're all just children of God, and it's really great. It's a great way to keep in perspective why we're here. We're not just athletes, but it teaches you how to live your faith out through your sport. So it's been a family for me here, and it's probably the best thing I've joined since I've gotten here.
Absolutely awesome. Jamie Barta, softball player for NDSU. Glad to have you on the program. Good luck throughout the course of the season, and why don't we get back together and chat again after you guys make an NCAA tournament run this summer? Sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot, Jamie. Thank you. So glad we were able to find time to get Jamie Barta onto the program. So busy playing softball at NDSU, but man, she was tremendous in the 2017 Shields Softball All-Star Series. All right, shift gears. I want to talk to you about the packaged deal. If you haven't heard of them, well, you need to hear about them. We're going to talk about this right now. So find them on social media. Find their website. All the girls are active on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, and their team is awesome. So a little bit of backstory about these girls. They travel the country giving the best softball clinics and camps. Basically, they've all been involved in them at some level before and said these aren't good enough. These need to be better. We need to push the kids, but we need to teach them about softball, and we need to teach them about life. And that's exactly what they do. So I want to tell you a little bit about their team and why they can help you whether you're a softball player, parent, coach, friend, whatever. It starts with Amanda Scarborough. This girl is incredible. An undersized pitcher. She's short. Was incredible in college. She does color and play-by-play for softball on ESPN, and she leads some of the best pitching workouts and clinics that you will ever see. Then you go behind the plate, girl by the name of Jen Schroeder, the best in the business when it comes to catching. Not only was she an All-American catcher, but she is a unique trainer. She has fun with these catchers, and oh my goodness, does she make them work too, but doing it in a fun way. Her kids get better. She calls it a culture, play on words there, that she's got going with her catchers, and the number of catchers that she trains that go Division I are absolutely incredible. On the hitting side, Katie Schroeder, she's awesome. She can think the game. She can play it at a high level. She did play it at a high level. She's won a national championship for UCLA. She is all about the swing and the repetition and station work with tees and soft toss and front toss. She's got more drills than you can shake a stick at. And fourth, but certainly not least, the infield side of the game, it's Morgan Stewart. And not only do defense win championships, but they win them more in softball than any other sport because pitching and defense, if you can do that, you're set. So why am I telling you about the package deal? They're all, SoCal girls and they're all over the country. Well, the girls are coming to Minneapolis on March 10th, and they provide such a unique opportunity to sign up for pretty affordable for what you get, classes, training sessions at these clinics. So they're going to be in the Twin Cities area March 10th. There's a really cool opportunity for coaches. You can pay something like $150 to go be there for the entire day. You can record, you can take notes, you can meet these girls, and you will be a better coach for it. And, of course, they do an awesome breakdown of clinics and training sessions for the athlete, right? You've got your pitching session, your catching session, your hitting session, and your fielding session. And they also don't just bring those four. I mean, they'll pull girls from all over the country. It's an incredible opportunity. We are trying to get them to North Dakota. But in the meantime, just before the regular softball season starts, you can go see them in the Twin Cities, March 10th. All right, now it's time to bring onto the program head coach for Mayport CG area, Harry Lipsey. Thanks for taking some time to join us today, Coach.
Well, it's awesome. I'm so glad to be with you, Tim. I really appreciate what you're doing, and so glad to be with you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining us. I want to start back towards the end of last year. I just think the key in such a short season, we get 11 weeks in softball if we play all the way to the end, is figuring out how to peak at the end. And state tournament results aside, that's what your team did. You played so well in the region tournament. You were so competitive down at the state tournament. Just talk about that progression over the 11 weeks and the year you had during your first year as head coach there.
You bet. Our athletic director, Eric Neidart, was my high school baseball coach, and someone actually was his assistant for 3 or 4 years. And one of the things he always preached was just, it's not about the opening season games. It's not about middle season games. It's just about being ready for the tournament. And honestly, even with the schedule last year, I thought that was a big impact. We had a 3-game stretch where we played Hillsborough, Central Valley, Red River, and Dakota Prairie, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And it was early to mid part of the season, and I thought, if the weather holds out, this could be huge as we prepare for the tournament time. And it ultimately playing those 3 games back to back to back, really, I know the girls were sore and it was tough and it was kind of a trying time because there was ups and downs, but I think it made us a better team. And those kind of experiences, I think, made us better. And the tough part, I thought, was having those moments where we played very well and it just didn't maybe show up on the scoreboard as a win, but just telling the girls, hey, we're getting better week in and week out. And so we ended the regular season at 4-6 in the region, which I thought, just showed we were competitive. We were where we wanted to be. We had some games that we weren't able to pull out in the end, but we were very competitive. And then we had a 2-week span where we didn't have a single game. And I thought that turned out to be really important, where we just worked really slowly on a skill each day, and I think we got better during that 2 weeks.
And you kind of mentioned you're kind of a baseball guy by trade, and I think a lot of people feel like it's pretty natural. You do the baseball thing, you play it, you coach it. Softball can't be much different, but it is, at least to me. And you mentioned that stretch where you played 3 games in 3 days. That's just so different for pitching, and that's maybe where this question is leading into. You can't just have a gal go stand out there and throw. It's a different mechanic. It's a different thing to work on. How big of the adjustment was it from baseball to softball?
It was a pretty big adjustment. But I was really lucky. My assistant, Carly Weber, played softball her whole life. And so she was a big help. And the girls, I really relied on them and their knowledge of the sport. And I tried to bring in, kind of my perspective as a baseball guy. And it's funny, the first time I ever met the girls last year, I told them that the reason I was coaching softball is I thought softball was so much harder than baseball. Right. You have high level varsity athletes playing on what to me is a little league field, and that the hot corner, the ball's coming so quick. The pitcher is so much closer than a Legion or a high school mound. So it's just you have to be thinking on the fly at all times, and that's what I just love about softball. Even watching the game, I prefer to watch high school softball right now to any other sport just because it's so fast moving. And that's what really intrigued me. So there was definitely a learning curve in the pitching part of it too, is I was always, as a baseball pitcher, as a baseball coach, you're always looking at 6 or 7 guys on a staff. And as softball, you might have a staff of 2 or 3. Last year, we kind of relied on 1, and it's just interesting the reps as well, because they need, 150 pitches maybe a day, where in practice you might get 20 pitches a day for baseball. So it's just the pitching side of it is so much different.
We're talking to Harry Lipsey. He's the head coach for Mayport CG area. And one of the things you mentioned as we were leading up to this interview is just the goal setting and kind of the different dynamic in that regard in softball. But, it paid off for you guys. You made a state tournament run. Could you talk a little bit about that kind of goal setting aspect, high school softball?
So last year I got hired in early February. I wanted to go around to each school at that time. I went to Hatton, Northwood, and then Mayport CG. And I remember sitting in a classroom in Hatton and just asking, the very first time I'd met the girls from Hatton, and I asked, what's your goal for the season? And I had a player look me in the eye. She was a sophomore, and she said, I really, really want to play at the regional tournament. And for some people, that would be, they might see that as a low goal. But she said, I'm a sophomore. I've never played at regionals. I just want to have the opportunity to try to get to state, but more so I just want to play in a regional tournament. And so for us, that was the goal, was the chance to play at regionals, get that taste of the tournament and put us in a good position. So on teams that I'd coached in the past, you always get players who think big. So you're talking about winning state. And I found out that, you can always set a new goal. So once we were able to qualify for the regional tournament, then we just said, hey, we want to win a game at regionals. And then, hey, we're in a state qualifier. Let's try to win a game. And so every single, you can keep setting new goals, and that was huge for our girls. And once we qualified for the state tournament in the position we were in, our mindset was, instead of setting goals as far as wins or placing, was what kind of qualities do we want to, kind of show at the state tournament? What kind of, team do, just what are the things that we want people to see about us since we're on the state stage? So goal setting was just huge for us last year. And each kind of practice, we had a goal of a skill we wanted to do, and we kind of let the girls dictate what skills they felt they needed to become a better team.
And that's a perfect transition into a new season with new goals and new expectations. You've started open gyms. You've got that state tournament experience from last year in your back pocket. What do things look like for 2018? It'll be here soon. We start in just a few weeks for your ball club.
Yeah, a lot of excitement. I guess on the goal-setting side of things, I love how the sub-region is set up where I think, and a huge goal for any team is to get into that top 2. So you don't have to play in a play-in game. So the goal is for us to get to regional. Give us a chance to play in that tournament setting. So hopefully as a team, I think our goal is to try to get in the top 2 in the regular season to avoid a play-in game. We have a good group of girls back, but one thing that's so important is to remind the girls, hey, this is an absolutely new season. We want to form I think the strength of our team last year was forming a chemistry. And I think, again, that's going to be huge. And it's a new season and new challenges. And it's going to be a challenge for me not to bring up last season because it was a special run. And there were so many great memories. But we got to make new memories and make sure we know that this is a whole new team with different components and, have to form a new chemistry.
Yeah, we're talking with head coach Harry Lipsey at Mayport CG area. A good run in 2017. Looking forward to a new run in 2018. Before we let you go, we have to talk a little bit about kind of our key core component here for the North Dakota Softball All-Stars, and that is the Shields Softball All-Star Series. You had an athlete participate in that in 2017, but we have this unique little thing that baseball isn't doing right now. How do you feel that the softball series, the All-Star Series, has kind of helped our sport, and how can we continue to grow this thing?
Yeah, so I guess first thing I want to mention, so last year we didn't have any all-conference players. What we could hang our hat on was that Allie Hutter was an all-star. That was a huge deal for our program.
Sure.
And for her to go and catch every single inning, Mandan and Fargo, and to do the job that she did and represent our program that way was huge for our program. And, it was funny because right after that, you start getting some phone calls about her if she has any plans to go to college or anything like that. So it's huge for her. It was huge for our program. And for the first year to have attendance like we did, and I talked to Allie, and she just said it was such a great experience. They were treated so well, and they just it was a special deal, and I think it's growing our sport already.
Awesome, Coach. I'm so glad we could find some time to chat. For those who don't know, it was on short notice. We had something lined up. It fell through, and Coach Lipsey was able to join us tonight to talk a little bit of softball on the February podcast. Hey, good luck this year to your ball club, and we'll catch up down the road.
Hey, really appreciate it, Tim.
All right, before we put a wrap on the February North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast, I want to talk about the future of this podcast, and I'm excited for it. So we've still got a few more weeks between now and the start of the softball season, but we will start weekly in the first full week of March. The hope and goal is to have these out each and every Sunday night. Then you get into the season, and we will have the polls. The coaches' polls come out on Mondays, so you're going to get your softball fix on Sunday nights with the North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast. It'll be a little bit shorter in nature, maybe one guest, and talk about the happenings of the week that was high school softball as we get into regular games. So Sundays, you get the podcast. Mondays, you get the coaches' polls and, of course, some games, too. And then Tuesdays, we've got games. Thursdays, Fridays, tournaments on the weekends. This is going to be a fun season ahead for North Dakota high school softball, the fastest-growing sport in our favorite state in the USA. My name's Tim Howe. Thank you for joining us for another North Dakota Softball All-Stars podcast. We'll talk to you in March. The season is right around the corner.